One Piece chapter 1045 is wild. What is up, people of YouTube? It's your boy G, coming for another One Piece review. This is my second review. Let's get into it. Now, All God Oda, he's bringing the heat, and he's bringing a lot of heat in this chapter. This is kind of will be a lot of spoilers. If you haven't read the chapter yet, go read the chapter, and if you have, come back and watch the video. So let's get into it right about now. Luffy in this chapter was beyond broken, fellas. Not only he has Toon Force, something I haven't seen in an anime character in a while. Well, I mean, you do have, Aurelia having a comic relief powers, being the gag character. I guess that you could say that's the same thing, but this is Toon Force. This is a whole other ball game than gag characters or whatever. So Luffy is broken. In the beginning of the chapter, you see Luffy laughing it up, and Kaido is just flabbergasted. I like that word, flabbergasted, at the fact that Luffy is like this. He's stuck in the beginning. He's just like, you're able to make the surroundings rubble, so I'm assuming you're awakened. So that's already a good observation from Kaido. Good job, Kaido. But not only that, he does mention that form that Luffy's in, Gear 5th, isn't anything a paramecia fruit can have. He states that like this is more of a zone type. So already Luffy's gonna have the idea that he might be a zone type than a paramecia. So that's pretty cool, because in the last video I did state, how is Luffy gonna know he's a zone? So it seems like Kaido's kind of giving the hints, even though Kaido doesn't know himself. Well, in the beginning of the fight, Kaido eats Luffy, and Luffy makes Kaido rebel. So it seems that not only Luffy has the properties to make anything rebel, even though he has the awaken, he can also make humans into rebel. Now that's pretty interesting. I haven't actually seen something like that in One Piece when it comes to awakenings. The closest we have is Doflamingo with his string ability, and while Luffy is eaten by Kaido, he messes around in his insides.
Pause what?
Pause, and makes everything pretty loopy. And there was a scene where Luffy is looking outside through Kaido's eyes, and he sticks his hands throughout both his eye holes and pulls himself out. Now, that is beyond Toon Force. That is prime Toon Force right there. That's some shit you see from the old school Mask era of cartoons. And not only that, the Toon Force, well, I'm gonna keep calling it the Toon Force at this point. Not only that Luffy could affect, Kaido, he could also affect other people, because there was a scene where Kaido smacks Luffy through the ground. I think it was on the attic floor of the castle, and you have Kid, Law, and a whole bunch of other people looking at Luffy, and they had these googly eyes that popped out of their heads, and by that alone is just like, okay, so this affects everyone. This could affect everyone. Another thing I want to talk about is that how it seems that Luffy has endless amount of power using this, like, Gear 5th. So one of the few things he was able to do was become a giant. Yes, Luffy became a giant to smack Kaido. Now, not just like his arm became a giant, his whole body became a giant. If you look at my thumbnail, that's Luffy as a giant. And while Luffy is a giant, this is pretty funny. He grabs Kaido and does a jump rope. And he basically starts using Kaido as a jump rope, messing up Kaido during the fight. So you see, Luffy's not really taking the fight too seriously in this match. And I find that really funny, because you typically when it comes to Toon Force stuff like that, the character doesn't take it seriously, because nothing's gonna affect them. And it's shown right here that Kaido's trying his hardest using his big hits, and nothing happens to Luffy. But at some point, Kaido does hit Luffy with the Dragon Blast. I call it Dragon Blast, but it's called Blast Breath, straight like head on. And then Luffy does get hit, but being Toon Force Luffy, his whole body gets covered in ash, and he gets pushed out of the castle while it's still falling. It's still falling. We still forget there's some stuff that this chapter's right now is going crazy, but there's still some stuff that is going on, like the castle's falling and Zoro is still dying. I'm gonna talk about that in a second. But Luffy is falling and he's angry. He's just like, dang. He's like that. He even says right, that's the last straw. That is some cartoon shenanigans right there. And so you know what Luffy does? He starts running on air, and then he poofs all the way back into the top of that mountain castle that's fallen while running. This chapter right here, 1045, Oda, you outdid yourself. This battle is going crazy. But another thing, I think this battle is gonna end pretty soon, because while Luffy gets on top of the castle and they have the little more fights and all that, we see the blasting effect what happens to Luffy. So Luffy is talking to Kaido, and then he even says, I'm far from done, and then he starts panting. and then that's when his gear 5 goes away, and you see Luffy being visibly tired and even looking like more of an old person because his gear. So I guess it's like that's the cause effect of it. You know, like how when he was fighting Rob Lucci and when he went gear 3rd, he became Chibi Luffy. I guess this is the outcome when you use gear 5 in the beginning, because this is a new ability and it's taking a lot out of him. I would imagine it's probably draining him a lot, and plus he was already, you know, tired from the fight prior and whatnot. But after being drained out, you know, it took a little bit of time. He starts laughing. I don't know if that's like if that's one way to actually activate gear 5, but he starts chuckling, talking to Momonosuke, you know, talking about, well, this isn't right, Momo? And you know, he brings up everyone else. He brings up Momonosuke, Kinemon, and Pedro, which was pretty interesting. I don't know what that's going, because you know Pedro was a big player in Whole Cake Island, so I like how he brought up Pedro. And then Kaido during that, he's like, "You're really gonna kill yourself, huh?" And then Luffy says one of the most badass things Luffy has said right now while trying to start up gear 5. He's using his heartbeat to start up gear 5. I think that's one way to start it up. He needs to have his heartbeat beat the drums of liberation. He says to Kaido, "After all of this, do you really think something like death can scare me?" That is pretty badass. That is Luffy right there. You know, Luffy's the type of guy, he'll run into a fight. Luffy isn't afraid. Luffy isn't afraid of a lot of things, but he isn't afraid of death. And then after that, you know, there was more wacky shenanigans. Kaido hits him with his what's that thing called? Well, his hammer, his mace. I'm gonna call it mace. He hits Luffy in the face with the mace, and then Luffy ends up looking like the moon. Not the moon, the sun from Soul Eater, which is pretty funny. As you can see, Luffy's just tanking these hits, and he's not even caring about them. Towards the end of the chapter, Luffy becomes another giant, and he starts doing like this really, like this spin to charge up a punch. It kind of reminds me of like the beginning of One Piece, when Luffy had to like spin his arm around to get a good hit in. So that's pretty cool to get that in. So at some point, you know, he starts thinking to himself that, like, you know, at this point, no one should be able to take me down like this. This is kind of weird. And then he gets punched in the face. But the crazy thing about this punch is it goes through his head. It goes through his head. So it looks like Luffy just basically killed Kaido. And that right here, when I read this, I'm not gonna lie, I thought he did it. I was like, yo, I thought this was the end of the fight, but it's not. So it has to do with the whole Toon Force thing. So Kaido's still alright, but Luffy is fired up. He's ready for that next round. I don't know what's gonna happen. That was the end of the chapter. My thoughts about this is Oda is writing flames right now. Oda is writing heat right now. And to talk about more of the story, you know, this is something that's crazy, because like, one, this is an ability you don't really see, especially in One Piece, because like, who else in One Piece can kind of like match his abilities right now? I'm talking about Luffy. And one couple people I can kind of think of, like, top of my head, is probably like, you know, the Jackie Jacket for being that wacky, and then Buggy, which is probably gonna be a video on its own about Buggy and Luffy. But I think the next two chapters, I think that's gonna be the end of the fight, because Luffy's beyond his limits at the moment. He's tired. This is draining him out, and then Kaido himself is even getting drained out too. So I think, you know, this is just more of an example to show what his abilities are. But I think the next two chapters, that's gonna be the end of the fight. I don't know if Kaido's going to die. That is something Luffy doesn't really do. Luffy doesn't really kill people. You know, Luffy doesn't kill main people. He just knocks them out. But since this is the Toon Force we're talking about, I think there's gonna be a loophole in this. But other than that, chapter 1045 is amazing. And what do you guys think? Do you guys think Luffy's gonna beat Kaido in the next chapter or two? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and do you guys like these One Piece review chapters? Because I'm thinking of reviewing other animes or mangas I'm reading, like Don't Boogie Me Naruto, Taro, webtoon stuff like Lookism. If you guys want to see me talk shit like that, let me know. And yeah, peace.